Hi, welcome to Nashville Sites. I'm Marley Abbott. I'm the Director of Marketing and Information, and we are here to celebrate 1 year of Nashville Sites. And due to COVID-19, we're going to bring you guys around town virtually and visit some of our tour stops and community partners. And our first stop is going to be the State Museum, which is on our Downtown Civil War and Women's History Highlights tours. Let's get started.
And we're here on a Monday at the Tennessee State Museum when it's closed to the public. And we've actually got two of the museum's education specialists here with us to give us the behind the scenes. We are here with Jennifer, and we're also here with Grace, who, as you can see, is in some costuming for the public programs. Can you tell us a little bit about the costuming you have on?
Yes, so for some of our programs we do have costumed offerings, and the ratified costumes are really cool because they have a lot of symbolism. So the suffragists often wore like whatever they had, but when they were really showing up and trying to make a statement, they often wore white, representing the purity of their cause, really the justice of what they were doing. And then different organizations had different colors. So the largest organization in our country was the National American Women's Suffrage Association, and their colors were this gold and white, or yellow and white, which really originated out of a campaign in Kansas in the 1860s. They used the sunflower, and so yellow stuck. And the yellow represents the light, the enlightenment that comes with women getting the right to vote, the light that's shown in the darkness. Another suffrage organization is the National Women's Party, which actually was a kind of broke away from NALSA and formed in the 19-teens. And their colors you might recognize, it's the gold and white and purple. And the purple represented loyalty, and loyalty to the cause.
Grace, can you tell us about this object here in the new Ratified Gallery?
Yes, so here in the Ratified Gallery, we wanted to highlight the really large number of women throughout the state that supported suffrage, that fought for suffrage, and we wanted to tell all aspects of the story here in Tennessee. And so this is actually a dress that was made by and worn by Nellie Ellen Dennis, and she was a professional dressmaker. And we actually have several dresses from her in the collection, and there's one dress in the permanent gallery in our Change and Challenge exhibit over that way. But the reason I wanted to highlight this dress is because it's representing the working woman, the woman that's going into the workforce, which was a huge driver in the suffrage movement because women often didn't have access to their wages by law. It was technically the property of their husbands. And so that was a huge motivator for women wanting the right to vote, wanting more independence, more access to, their money that they were making. And so at the turn of the century, there were a lot of laws that were changed, allowing women to take hold of their wages, to sue in law. Lots of things were changing. But these women knew that just because things were changing doesn't mean that they're going to stay that way. They still recognized that they needed a voice in the government so that they could keep those rights. So that's why I like this dress. It really represents a working woman, a woman that's going into the workforce, and it's practical, but also very stylish and fashionable as well.
Well, Jennifer, can you tell us a little bit about some of the objects you have here?
Yes, these objects are really special in the collection because they are so rare. These are actually organic things from, 1,000 years ago, which you don't really find that very often. This is actually the moccasin is really what I want to highlight. All three artifacts that you do see in the case are from the same find. This is from the find of Jack W. Pickett. He was excavating in Grundy County 1969-1970, actually in a cave. And that's one reason why these artifacts are still here with us today. Because inside that cave is a very stable environment. The temperature doesn't fluctuate with humidity. So it actually works in our favor to actually preserve these things. So So the moccasin you see here is actually something called rattlesnake fiber, not connected to the actual snake, okay? It's rattlesnake fiber. And what we have found, I believe this is the left shoe, in case you were wondering, and there's kind of tells a story in and of itself. It's been repaired a couple times, so you can see that the person who owned this really cared about the shoe, that they would repair it. Today we just throw it out and go buy a new pair. They repaired it a couple times, but apparently the last repair didn't work, so they ended up leaving it in the cave. So obviously it was time to make some new ones. So it's a really interesting piece that it has survived this long. And it's an example of what these woodland people, this is the woodland era in our state's history. So right before the Mississippian culture, which most people are probably going to be familiar with, here in the exhibit we do cover the four prehistoric kind of tribes, groups that are living here in the area from the Paleolithic, that's the oldest, kind of at the end of the Ice Age, onto the Archaic. The Archaic, of course, being the longest period, roughly about 2,000 years, that we refer to as the Archaic. The woodland culture that this artifact actually comes from, this is when you're seeing them start to have more permanent settlements, agriculture is coming in, the bow and arrow is invented, so you're seeing that settlement start to establish that you will eventually find in the cities of the Mississippian culture a few hundred years later. So it's a really special piece. We also have a fraction of a basket, so you can see the weave. And then up here is actually part of a shaft with the feathers still attached. So all three of these artifacts are coming from Grundy County.
So we're here in the Forging a Nation Gallery, and Jennifer is going to highlight one of her favorite objects that we've got here.
Yes. So of course we have tons of objects within the collection, and depending on the day of the week I might find something else. But this is largely my favorite object in the collection. It's actually one that's on loan to us. So in the museum, we have things in our permanent collection, but we also kind of rotate things out with items we have on loan. So this is actually the dress of Sarah Polk, First Lady Sarah Polk. It's from the 1840s. It's French in style. It's silk. It's satin. It's blue. Love blue. But this is a dress that she would have worn in the morning, like to early receive callers. The conservator, actually, that we had come in when we were preparing it for display here in the new museum, was very impressed with how well preserved it is. It almost looks like you could just take it off the mannequin and put it on right now. It's so amazing. So they kind of were assuming that maybe this wasn't her favorite one, but it's my favorite. I would have worn this every day. So it's a really great. Sarah Polk was known to be a woman way above her time. President Polk would often converse with her about issues of the day. So it was a way, before women got the right to vote, it was a way that women could still influence policy and future, because he did often discuss issues with her before he even went to his cabinet sometimes. So that's at least the story. So I just absolutely love this. It is gorgeous. I mean, you can't really say much more about it, just look at it.
Can you tell us a little bit about the object that we're standing in front of?
So this object is very interesting. It has a little bit more to tell than just looking at it. This is going to be the prosthetic leg of the gentleman that we see here, Robert Singleton. I like kind of highlighting this, especially when we're doing our education programs. It does seem kind of macabre and everything, but it really connects to the people of the Civil War. The loss, not only of losing a loved one, but the fact that this gentleman here, Robert Singleton, he actually lost his leg. So how is that going to affect? And that's what you see throughout the state of Tennessee, whether they're on the side of the Confederacy or you see on the side of the Union. You are having that loss felt from everyone. No one's really left out of the, what would you call, the catastrophe that we would have of the American Civil War. So Robert Singleton himself was actually fighting at Stones River, which of course is in Murfreesboro. This is going to be about January 2nd, 1863. He is actually injured in the knee, and he's left on the battlefield. He is part of the 17th Tennessee Infantry, CSA. So that's Confederate States of America. So he's going to be captured there on the battlefield by the Union, and he's taken, as he's injured, he's taken to a Union surgeon, and the surgeon determines the best thing to do to actually save his life is going to be to amputate his leg, which was a very common technique during the Civil War. Amputation, you had a better chance of surviving amputation than the injury itself, and of course the possible resulting infection. Over the 600,000 people that are killed or injured, during the Civil War, infection and disease is actually going to kill more than simply battlefield injuries, being shot or anything like that. So he survives, so the surgeon made the right decision. He survives. He's actually sent up north and is a prisoner of war. And that is actually where the family believes he carved the crutch that you see here. But he will eventually take the oath of allegiance. He will return here to Tennessee, to Bedford County, in 1866. And I believe in August of that year, he's actually fitted with this leg. It's very advanced for the time period. Basically before this, you had the nice, the pirate image with the peg leg. This, no more peg leg. You actually have the movable joint, the knee joint actually functions. So this is a very advanced step. And that is one of the, I guess you could say, positive things from the Civil War is the medical advancements that you're going to see out of it. The ambulance corps is going to come out of the Civil War. The triage system, where they go through and determine what patients need the most critical care first. Female nurses come out. So you are seeing some advancements. So there's negatives and positives out of the Civil War, and medical advancement is definitely going to be one of those positives. And this technology, you can see a lot of this technology still with us today. A lot of these companies that did prosthetic limbs after the Civil War are still producing prosthetic limbs to this day. So it's pretty amazing.
Well, I'm always changing my mind about what my favorite object is. So every week it's a new artifact, since we have so many here at the museum. But this week it's the ration book we have on display from World War II, from 1943. And the reason why it's one of my favorites right now is because here in quarantine we're all kind of rationing, we're all cooking and trying out new things, we're trying new recipes to try to make ends meet. And I love connecting the past to the present. It's one of the cool things that we get to do here as educators at the museum is to see when it clicks with people. We talk about history, we talk about things that happen, and then we get to see people understand how it connects to them to the present. So that's why I really love this ration book here. It can connect us to kind of what we're going through right now.